watch. We're going to do 2 key games. The Packers and Vikings are the first one. And Adam, yeah, I mean, Fred's team lost only by 3. You guys only lost by 2, 31-29. So we might as well kick off and start with that. I mean, Jordan Love obviously looks good returning, but, well, I guess more towards it in the second half. He made a game of it, but coming out of it, it's weird to see you in a good mood considering you just lost to your divisional rivals. How are you feeling?
Oh, I gave up on that game very early on, so I wasn't that bothered. I'm purely in a good mood through the fact of my dynasty league, and in a matchup that I was getting hammered in, and a certain Mr. Henry came through for me quite a lot last night, which we'll talk about later. That's why I'm in a good mood.
You plugged that well.
Vikings Packers. Yeah, you can't. My main takeaway is that you probably can't let a team take a 28-point lead. It tends to get a bit difficult once you reach that point. So that was the main takeaway from it. Our edge rushers didn't really get much pressure on Sam Darnold. That was the overall problem, and the Vikings O-line was pretty good and protected him pretty well. And really, it's kind of a mixture of that and the 2 missed field goals that we had, which that's just par for the course with Green Bay. We love a kicker who loves to miss a field goal. So that's all it is, really. I think I wasn't overly upset. I thought we put on a really good comeback, but you can only get back so far. It was just too much in the end. So yeah, I thought they did okay. I just think that you can't concede that many points that early on in a game and expect to come back. And I think losing Jair Alexander, which was a bit of a surprise, was a big issue there, because obviously that takes your next best corner onto Justin Jefferson, which then opens up Jordan Addison, as we saw with his 2 touchdowns. So yeah, I think that's probably where it all went wrong.
You mentioned about the field goals. I mean, you lost to a team who's basically history. They just bang on about missing a field goal in the 99 NFC Championship game. So you can't feel, you had to let your rivals have one. Do you know what I mean? Fred, before we move on to the Vikings, I read that no Green Bay pass catcher has had season-long target share above 20%. Jordan Love started to air the ball out to different, players. Tucker Kraft around 48 routes. Musgrave only 17 this week. Josh Jacobs, his running back share went down. I think as much as they lost this game, if they can stay healthy, it's kind of good situation that I think we see a lot of teams. It's never good that your star player gets injured, but if he can stay healthy, I think it's going to go on. I know Christian Watson went down, but even Adams said in the offseason, if anyone was going to go down, it was going to be him.
That's no downside. Yeah, I can assure you.
Well, we've seen Wicks, Jaden Reed. Just talk about, I know they lost, but what's the weapons like? Yeah, or Adam got excited because I said Wicks. He loves Wicks.
I think it was like, you say keep healthy or stay healthy or get healthy. Well, I think Jordan Love needs to get healthy first, because it was very clear he is not 100%. And I think, Adam, you put it in a group chat on the night, like how well Malik Willis has been playing. Was there any need to rush him back? I don't think there was, and maybe even, he does put you in the best position to win games, and maybe that's what they thought about coming up against the Vikings team, which has been so hot to start the year and being a division rival as well. But 32-54, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. There's some empty calories in there for Jordan.
Crazy, yeah.
The 3 interceptions are pretty rough as well. But he did show that like this pass catching offense is really dynamic, and they have a lot of names on that side of the ball that are really capable and really talented. Yeah, it's a shame losing Watson because you've lost the name there, but like Am said, it's not that big a shame because you got Wicks and Dobbs and Kraft and players like Reed as well, players like that that are really dynamic. Josh Jacobs, for me, not doing enough. We're not really seeing the Jacobs that we saw at the Raiders. He only had 9 carries, 51 yards. I think it was pretty well. When you're that far behind back at halftime, you have to go to the throwing game. Like the running game does just halt and does just stop. Again, another knife to the heart for my fantasy team. And And yeah, they're a good team, this Packers team. It was a long day at the office for them. It felt at one point, and being 28-7 at half time, it looked like there was no way to get back into it. And they did do well to get back into it. Like I'm saying, with 2 field goals, that's again a little bit of it is a negative for the Packers. But there's some really positive signs there. Love's such a capable quarterback, and this defense is pretty good as well. They came up against a Vikings team who are just seem to not be able to do anything wrong at the minute, it feels like.
Yeah, and with the Vikings, actually, probably anyone watching, they must think we hate the Vikings because obviously in our pre-season thing, we weren't like, I feel like we were probably one of the more realistic people out there with the Vikings. Like, we even caveated they could be a playoff team if they're healthy, but realistically on paper, anyone who believed that before week 1 was probably just like clickbaiting or, trying it. But now, after week 1, we've sat here each week and gone, oh no, actually, Sam Darnold is playing well. He's doing his thing. Like the Vikings now surely coming to London. Adam, if you're a Vikings fan, they've got Hockenson will be back at some point. Aaron Jones, is slotted in quite well. You must feel good. I'm trying to get you to talk good about your rivals, but they must be feeling good, right?
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I mean, they're 4-0. I don't think anyone was expecting this. The Sam Darnold has clearly shown that he's improved under the tutelage of Kyle Shanahan, being over in San Francisco. And now, obviously, he's with Kevin O'Connell as well, which is kind of the same, tree kind of thing. So it feels very much that this is, this is the right move. And I think that the question mark over the Vikings was never, did they have weapons or could they defend? Because even at the back end of last year, defensively they looked all right under Brian Flores and stuff like that. So all of this, it was never anything else. It was very much like it's going to take time for JJ McCarthy to be okay and do well as a rookie, or can Sam Darnold actually do it, or are we just going to get the same Sam Darnold that we've had throughout his whole career? And I think that was the problem. It's that it's that same old story, isn't it? It's all well and good having everything around, but if you don't have the guy throwing the ball and being good enough, then your team just disappears. And I think that I don't think anyone was expecting this from Sam Darnold. And he's clearly shown that he has progressed and he's got better compared to what he was before when he was playing in Carolina or New York. And he just looks like it could be a purple patch. It could just be that they're on a run and everything is going right. But he does look like that he's just a lot more composed compared to what he was before. And I think that by having a coach like Kevin O'Connell there, he's going to be able to come up with play calls that is going to show him in his best light. So, yeah, I mean, if you look at it now, you really do have to feel a little bit like the sky is the limit a little bit here with what they're doing, because they're not, they're not showing signs of really anything going wrong, other than the fact that a lot of people say how good this defense is. It doesn't matter if it's at the end of a game or whatever. If you're giving up 29 points, you're not a great defense. They're good at stopping the run. They're not very good at stopping the pass. They're really struggling with that. And so I think they will, come up short because of something like that. But yeah, I mean, they really do have the potential to push on and be a playoff team here.
Sam Darnold, sorry to mention fantasy, Fred. He's the only quarterback with multiple touchdown passes in every game this year. He's been top 10. I know we obviously not here to only talk about fantasy, but he's been a top 10 fantasy quarterback in each of his last 3 games. Before we move on, I'm glad Adam mentioned Brian Flores, actually, because the run D has been good. And you've got the Mike Zimmer, when he was head coach for 7-8 years, he got a lot of credit. But look at the torrid time he's having in Dallas. I think Flores has sort of come in. What do you think is the biggest surprise? Sam Darnold and the offense clicking, say with new running back, Hockenson injured, or the Vikings defense actually holding up enough to give their offense a chance and be 4-0?
Well, I think that's why they're in the position they're in now, is that true great teams play complementary football, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, they're out there equal amount of time. They're getting every time their offense is out there, they're getting points. Every time the defense out there, they're getting a stop. Like Adam's very right about, you know, they gave up all them points in the second, and that's going to be a problem. Their passing, but it is something that they can work on. If they can say their run defense is one of the best in the league, then the defensive side of the coordinators and the backroom staff can work on that, on getting that secondary better. I mean, the trade deadline still hasn't passed yet. There could be options to bring in new people in, maybe if they feel like this is if they feel like this is a big, not the push, but if they could go, can go on a real big push this year, they might go all in on someone. They might go and trade for someone. You never know, especially if if there's a cornerback out there who's on a team that he thought was going to maybe go all the way this year, and they might not. That could definitely be interesting. And what I did like, actually, when we talk about Sam Darnold on the offensive side of the ball, it's not the Justin Jefferson show. It's being really spread out, and that's Jordan Addison have a couple of touchdowns. I know Jefferson did lead in receptions, but he is putting the ball around. Jay Naylor has been really good for them as well. The third string wide receiver, and then Aaron Jones, he put 93 yards, I think, in the end in that game. Like, they have a complementary offense. They have complementary offense and defense with each other, and really, the sky is the limit for them. They will get found out. There will be a game that they'll just get bombed over the top, and it will go negatively for them. Like, it's like you were saying, Sky, about picking, the Titans every week in the pool.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to win a game. Like, they are going to win a game. Like, it's the same sort of now. I think from now on with the Vikings there's going to be. People are going to be picking the other team because they're going to go, well, this bubble is going to burst. But the bubble burst won't be in there. It's going to happen. It's a reality check. It's then how they bounce back from that. And given how well Sam Darnold's bounced back from being rejected in New York, being rejected in Carolina, like if anyone could do it, it is probably him at this point because he's learned a lot. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they move forward.
Yeah, I do wonder if, just before we move on, like, just to thought out loud, in a lot of these international trips, the narrative always is you're going through a tough time, like the Jags last year. I wonder how the Vikings feel leaving the US at 4-0. Like, you would feel positive, but it must be a bit weird coming to London now. And like you said, if that loss is this week to the Jets, then maybe that has ramifications going on when you go back to the US. But who knows?
If it was someone other than the Jags in London.
Yeah,
like part of me always just has this image of Jags always bouncing back and doing really well in London, but actually their record's not incredibly great.
No, it was only because of last year, mainly.
But they do seem to, like, I don't know, do that extra gear here, I suppose. And like I think completely right. Like, if I'm the Vikings at the minute, I do not want to leave. I don't particularly want to go away. Like, I'm enjoying this run that they're having. So if they win here, I think it will instill a bit of a, anytime, any place, we can beat anyone, anywhere, So that's dangerous when a team thinks that way.